Okay, so let's we're going to start a minute early with those of you that are on here so we can do a sound check. This is the NCEES session for us, all about PDPs and evaluations at 11 o'clock on Wednesday, September 16th. Are y'all ready for the weekend like I am? All right, so let's do just a quick check. We are new to using Webex, and when I show my screen, your panel stuff probably jumps to the top of the screen, and you can hover over the little blue bar that's up there, and you can open your participants panel. This is where you see your webcam and microphone. You do not need those today. We probably won't be doing a lot of talking back and forth. If we need to unmute you, we will, but you do not need to unmute yourself. And as you're joining, please do make sure you are muted so we don't get a lot of background noise. You do need your participants panel open. So let's do a quick sound check. And so in your participants panel, you can raise your hand or click a green check mark, or you can put in the chat, yes, you can hear me. So if you'll do that now, raise your hand or hit the S, say yes in the chat box. All right. I see some yeses. I see some hands and green checks. Great. All right, and we are recording today. And Kim, I don't know if you can answer in the chat. We did check the last session, and they were able to change who they're sending messages to and say all participants. So make sure you guys, when you're just putting in your questions in the chat today, try to put it on all participants so that Kim and I can both see your questions and that others can see your question and we can answer for the good of the group. And then we do have some that say they can't select all participants. That's okay. If you do have a question, please put it in, and we'll try to answer those. And I do download those, so if we need to send out answers later, we will. All right, so good morning. I am Cammie Aaron. I work for NCDPI in the Digital Teaching and Learning under Home Base. And I manage the NCEES Teacher Evaluation product for you guys so I can answer your system questions. And my policy questions partner is joining us today, and that's Kim Simmons. If you'll introduce yourself today, Kim.
Good morning. My name is Kim Simmons, and I am the North Carolina Educator Evaluation System Coordinator. I mostly work with policy, practice, and procedure, and I partner with Cammie quite a bit because she works on the technical side of things, and I'm happy to be here today and thrilled that you guys are joining us.
Thank you, Kim. You also see a picture there of Robert Sachs. He also works in our Educator Support Department. Not sure what the title is right now, but he also handles a lot of the policy. He's a self-proclaimed NCEES guru as far as all the policies for NCEES. So if you ever have a policy question, Kim and Robert are your go-to people. So let's get started. We have about our session today. So today's session is going from 11 till 12:20, and we're going to be looking about NCEES and how the evaluation and PDP plans correlate and how to best prepare for those observations. What does it mean for beginning residency or experienced teachers or support staff? You're going to find out that you're all on that same path. So we're going to look at that together. And we've aligned today's session to the digital learning competency of data and assessment, where teachers will use technology to make data more accessible, adjust instruction to better meet the needs of a diverse learner population, and reflect upon your practice through the consistent effectiveness of assessment. All right, so hopefully you guys did get all my messages. When I first sent out this meeting, I did send you the Webex link, but we also needed you registered in NCEES. This is where we'll be taking attendance today. So the link is here. If you've not done that, I'll put that in the chat. There's the NCEES link, NCEES registration. Can't spell NCEES today. And post that for you guys. If you didn't don't worry about it, and you can't do it now, don't worry about it. It will probably direct you to sign in through EdCloud, and then it will take you straight to the section where you register. You also, if you've not downloaded the app to actually do the QR code to mark attendance, you can go to your app store and look for Performance Matters. Here is your code, KEXU4S. So maybe take a quick picture of that. And if you've not downloaded that yet, there is an optional way to do attendance. So if you can't get this working, don't worry about it. We're going to make sure you're attended and you'll get a certificate. All right, on our agenda today, we just did the introductions and we talked about logging in. And then we're going to talk about the evaluation circle. What is the whole evaluation circle? How does this connect to PDPs and our summary evaluations, determining those cycle types that we use, and the professional development plan. We'll take a good look at that in NCEES. We'll look at your self-assessment, the goals, preparing for reviews, and then we're going to take a good look at our NCEES Google site information and resources, and pay attention to that because we have some activities surrounding our Google site. And then we're going to take a look at your evaluation, the different types that are in NCEES. Why are some evaluations not in NCEES? What are those? Why should you acknowledge those observation conferences, those post-observation conferences you have with your evaluator? What is that response for? And we're going to do those observation activities. And then we have some resources for you on how to prepare for observations and observation conferences. And we're going to talk also about professional development, just a smidge. And then we'll give you a few minutes at the end to do that attendance so that you can sign in and scan your QR code and get your certificate. So we're going to get started right in and talk about the evaluation circle of continuous improvement. So the purpose of the North Carolina Educator Evaluation Process, we'll just read a couple of these. You can read this on the screen. The teacher performance evaluation process serves as a measurement of performance for individual teachers and a guide for you as you reflect upon and improve effectiveness. And then maybe it helps you focus on goals and objectives of your school and your district. And it enhances the implementation of your approved curriculum. It also informs those IHEs, the higher education institution, as we're developing our new teachers, our brand new teachers, and they get into the teaching profession. All right, I'd like to turn this over to Kim.
Thanks, Cammie. So here on the screen, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So on the screen, if you'll take a look over to the left side, you see standards for two process components, which means that we have two things that happen during the whole evaluation process for the year. We have evaluation and supervision. Evaluation is the systematic judgment of evidences by a knowledgeable other for the summative purpose of assigning a rating of quality. So the evaluation process is annual, and so this evaluation where you are assigned ratings happens at the end of the year. During the year, during the observations, what we refer to as observations, this component is called supervision, and that is intentional interaction with knowledgeable others for the formative purpose of improving the practice. So throughout the year, with our observations and our post-observation conferences, we exchange ideas, and that's what we consider our supervision during that time. So if you move over to the center, or more to the right side center of the slides, you see the teacher evaluation, and you see a continuous improvement cycle. So the graphic gives us some insight here into the continuous improvement cycle that happens during the year. So let's look at the bottom half. You see that the teacher brings instructional inputs to the class, provides the instruction, and then determines, of course, the instructional outcomes. And then we see how that it loops back around to inform the teacher input to the next session, always reflecting for improvement. This is what happens. This is the continuous instructional cycle. Now, our evaluation, if you look at the rubric, if you've dug very deeply into the rubric, you know that professional learning communities are a substantial part of our standards and of our process. And what that means is the collaborative coaching component, but also the action research, which means that we're always on an improvement cycle. We're reflecting and we're then informing our instruction as we move forward. So we also determine the success of our teachers' practice using the evaluation process and the standards, of course, which are outlined in the rubric. And we use the rubric to complete, if you look up at the top part, we use the rubric to complete the self-assessment, which then informs the PDP goals. And we also use the rubric to gather feedback for the classroom observation and to provide formative feedback to the teacher. The rubric looks for both instructional practices and professional practices, and we'll talk a bit more about that in a few of the other slides. So here we have, is that the next slide, Cammie? Was there another one with the rubrics? Did I get those out of order maybe? Okay. So here you see, we just wanted you to see the different, the way that the rubric looks different if you look at the hard copy of it, which is the fillable form, and then if you look at the NCEES online form and the differences there. The data, the content, and the information, and the process are the same, but they do look somewhat different being online and the fillable form that you have access to. Okay.
So did you want this slide, Kim, or do you want me to go forward?
No, I do want that slide. I think I just got things just a tad bit out of order, but that's okay. I can still talk about this slide. So here you see that you see the different components from our continuous improvement cycle, and you see the red lines reflecting down to the North Carolina Professional Teaching Standards rubric, and the red lines are attached to the different pieces that do attach to the teaching standards in the rubric. Your professional practice, of course, and your instructional practice, those are located within the standards of the rubric. Your self-assessment, we use the rubric to do a self-assessment, and we also use the same rubric for the classroom observations. In addition to these four components, we also use the same rubric, it's a multi-purpose rubric, to complete the evaluation at the end of the year when we assign ratings as well. So here, when we think about the North Carolina Professional Teaching Standards and the rubric, we see that they are divided into two different types of standards. We have professional practice, which reflects Standards 1 and Standard 5. Standard 1 is teacher leadership, and Standard 5 is teachers reflect on their practice. And these are both professional practices. And then we also see that within the rubric, we have classroom practice, that includes Standards 2, 3, and 4. Standard 2 being teachers establish a respectful environment for a diverse population. Standard 3, teachers know the content they teach. And Standard 5, teachers facilitate learning for their students. Again, these are instructional practices. So our standards are different, professional practice and classroom practice. And now you see the little numbers at the bottom. These are different types of assessments that are different types of data, different types that you can gather to inform continuous improvement. and we see professional practice, classroom practice, and then student survey and student growth may also be included there. But we do not use, for the teacher evaluation, we do not use student survey or student growth data. But those are data points that do inform our practice for that continuous improvement. So here again, we see that the outcomes of the yearly evaluation informs the next year's PDP. And if you look in the center of the screen, you see those four professional development drivers: professional practice, instructional practice meaning the student's experience, which would be the survey, and then the student growth, which would be your Evals data. So you see that professional practice and instructional practice really directly relates to the initial PDP goals, which are informed, if you are an experienced teacher, they are informed by the previous year's summative evaluation. And then the student growth data, which we usually receive around October, that data can be used to inform our mid-year PDP progress and our mid-year PDP check-in that we have with our administrators. Here is a caption of our annual evaluation process, and it is a process loop. We do refer to our evaluation process as an annual evaluation process, but it does inform the next year. Professional development plans act as a bridge to connect individual school years into a continuous professional learning pathway that links teacher learning and growth to future action. So if you look at the one-pager, if you will, the annual evaluation process, you see in component 8 the PDP plan, the individual growth plan, the monitored growth plan, and the directed growth plan. That would be determined based on your summative evaluation for that year. It informs the next year. And you see that as the continuous circle rotates around, the PDP would not necessarily be a part of step 1, the training and orientation. However, it would be a significant part of the step 2, the self-assessment, goal setting, and pre-conference. We see there that we use the rubric. For the teacher assessment, we use the rubric for evaluating North Carolina teachers. The teacher shall rate his or her performance and reflect on his or her performance throughout the year. And then for the pre-observation conference, the goal is to prepare the principal for the observation. Before the first formal observation, the principal meets with the teacher to discuss the self-assessment that was just completed by the teacher at the beginning of the year, and the professional growth plan. So it is a key component of that pre-observation conference that you have with the administrator the following year. If you're a new teacher, you start with an individual growth plan, always. And then at the end of the year, the summative evaluation will determine if you continue on an individual growth plan or if that growth plan changes. So what about COVID 2020? So Robert Sachs provided me with some information, and I put this information on our NCEES Google site, and there is a page now that is dedicated to COVID 2020 information, presentations, and supporting resources for NCEES. I strongly recommend that you take a look at the recording that Robert has there, which really looks at a review of the NCEES process to support educator, professional, and instructional practices, and to offer some conditional use when observing remote learning or blended learning. And again, you see that there's lots of other resources that we've provided here for you, and we will continue to update and add resources here. So please, I hope you're checking in on the NCEES Google site often for updated information, but please check here on this page particularly for updated resources that may support your work with teacher growth and teacher practice. So now let's take a look at our professional development plans a bit more closely. So we have 3 types of professional development plans: the individual growth plan, monitored growth plan, and directed growth plan. Regardless of which type of plan that you're on, the growth plans should serve as a roadmap for teacher growth. And they can include individual, school, and district goals, but I strongly recommend that the individual teacher is at the forefront of their professional development plans. You can also align your professional growth plan goals with your school improvement plan, as long as it does have an impact on your personal and professional growth. And then your teacher effectiveness data, which would be your EVOS data, that can also inform your growth plan, but it would need to be added mid-year at the mid-year conference. So how do we determine what growth plan that we need to be on? So new teachers and teachers who are rated at least proficient on all the standards on the teacher summary rating form, they will be on an individual PDP. Teachers set their individual goals for growth and meet with the administrator 3 times during the year to discuss, usually at the beginning, middle, and end of the year. Teachers rated developing on 1 or more standards on the teacher summary rating form at the end of the year would be on a monitored growth plan the following year. And with a monitored growth plan, the administrator and teacher meet to discuss and set goals together based on the evaluation data that was collected the year before. They should meet at least 3 times during the year. We recommend more often than that, but at least at the beginning, middle, and end of the year. Then moving over to the right side, teachers rated not demonstrated on any standard on the teacher summary rating form or developing on 1 or more standards on the teacher summary rating form for 2 sequential years would be on a directed professional development plan. Administrators for the directed PDP, administrators set the goals for the teacher based on observations and documentation that have been collected. Then the administrator meets with the teacher to review the development plan, and they will meet at least 3 times during the school year to discuss as well. We recommend meeting monthly for the directed professional development plan.
Okay, thank you, Kim. All right, so let's look at NCEES, and here's a screenshot of what the professional development plan self-assessment looks like. So you've gone into NCEES, you've gone to My Evaluations, you've opened your professional development plan, and the first activity is that self-assessment. So you're going to come in here, you're going to start new, make sure, especially you guys that are support staff, that your standard says counselors or library media specialists, whatever the rubric should be for you. Make sure it doesn't have teachers. If you see teachers and you are a support staff, report that to your principal or your NCEES lead in your school, and they can get it fixed for you. They just need to check your plan type is set correctly, and then you would start this, delete it, and it would repopulate with the correct plan. But we're going to look at this self-assessment, start it new, and then we're going to go through each of these. So we're going to talk about those, about what's new in the system right now. So we're trying to move everybody to, during an observation, you are not being rated. So you are not being looked at for developing, proficient, accomplished, or distinguished. What you are being informed on is how to inform your growth process. So we've added some descriptors for that growth process. And the first one here would be knowledge. Do you know it? So here you see understands how they contribute to students graduating from high school. Does the evaluator see that you know that? And then the next column over would be your action column. Are you taking responsibility for the progress of your students? Are you establishing a safe and orderly classroom? If it says observation under this, it just means that they can see that in your classroom. These other ones may need to have evidence outside of the classroom. All right, and then the next one over is your interaction, and this is where this would be with your students. How do you communicate to your students? How do you evaluate student progress? That is interaction with your students. And then extension kind of goes to outside of the classroom. Are you encouraging your students to take responsibility for their own learning? Are you empowering and encouraging students to create and maintain a safe, supportive school environment? So that's this element. And then the other elements may have even more things. Are how are you working with your other teachers, and how is it showing outside of the classroom? So here's just a quick review of the standards that Kim was talking about earlier. And if you missed Robert Sox's recent recording, he did a recording that was very thorough. Please do go watch this recording. It explains all the standards and how to understand the teacher rubric. Here's the link to that recording, and here's the presentation. So here we have Standard 1, where teachers demonstrate leadership. Standard 2, teachers establish a respectful environment. Standard 3, teachers know the content they teach. Standard 4, teachers facilitate learning for their students. And then Standard 5, teachers reflect on their practice. Of course, if you're on an abbreviated plan, you're only going to have two standard, what is it, Kim, 1 and 4 to be looked at. So we are going to do
1 and 4.
Yes, thank you, Kim. We're doing activity with Standard 3, teachers know the content they teach. And the 4 elements of that are teachers align their instruction within the NCEES. Teachers know the content appropriate to their teaching specialty. Teachers recognize the interconnectedness of content area disciplines. And teachers make instruction relevant to their students. So I'm going to copy this link and put it in your chat. We want you to participate at this point. This is your hands-on activity. Let me copy this. We're going to look at Standard 3. And I just put that in the chat. So it's your turn. Let's look at Standard 3. I'm going to click on this link. It's going to ask you if you want to make a copy. And just say yes, make a copy. This is in Google Sheets. All right. So, Kim, if you'll help me talk through this. If you see observation up here, that means what? It's observable?
Are you talking to me? I'm sorry.
Yes, Kim.
Oh, yes. Yes, it's observable. There should be another column over to the left side.
Well, if it's a paper copy,
Okay.
It doesn't have it over to the left side.
Yes, okay.
So it just puts it either up here, or when we looked at Standard 1 earlier, it listed it in the little parentheses under each element.
I understand. Okay, yes.
So what you do during your self-assessment is you're going to read through each of these descriptors and decide if you are meeting that descriptor, and you're going to check a box. So I want you to go through this and read through each of these. We're going to give you a couple minutes and check the box. Do you have to check? Can you check this box here if I've not checked this box here? Yes. All right. And those of you on abbreviated plan, we did pick element 3, or Standard 3, teachers know the content they teach. Go ahead and do that, because you'll notice even abbreviated people, your self-assessment does include all the standards and elements, because the self-assessment rubric does have all 5 standards. What you could do in yours, you could go ahead and rate yourself on all of them, or if you're not looking for that because you're on an abbreviated plan, there's a button for that. So take a minute and go through those. All right, so let me check my share settings. Oh. I may need to go find the actual document. Sorry about that, guys. I thought I did that already. Give me just 1 second. I'll have this fixed for you.
While Cammie's pulling that up, I'll just make a statement that all of the elements and all of the descriptor categories found within Standard 3, teachers know the content that they teach are observable during a classroom observation. That's not the case in all the standards, but in Standard 3 they are. So when a principal or assistant principal observes a teacher on Standard 3, they are looking for all of the elements and all of the descriptors that you see in the rubric, because those are all descriptors that you can observe during a classroom observation.
Okay, so I accidentally shared the link to the main copy. You probably do want to use the link, and I just reposted it so that you can make your own copy that you can keep. It should let you in now. I apologize for that. All right. Okay, you guys are getting in. Some of you may be in my main document. That's okay if you just want to look at it, or just come on out and go get the copy link. Let's just take 1 more minute. It shouldn't take long to go through that. I don't think I've got the right descriptors in that bottom row. That's weird. I missed a couple. So ignore the bottom row, and we'll go ahead and get the final part of the activity. So what you're going to do when you get your descriptors checked as to what you meet, you may see some that you didn't check, and you need to decide if you want to work on that in your PDP goals. So you need to work with your mentor if you're a beginning teacher, or if you're an experienced teacher, work with your principal about what areas you might want to work on and be setting those PDP goals. Some of that setting of the PDP goals probably came from your end of year summary evaluation last year. If you're not a beginning teacher, if you had an evaluation last year, and you got those summary evaluations, that also informs your PDP goals. So if you'll scroll down to the bottom of this activity, you're going to see a sample of what the PDP goals look like when you get into this initial activity of setting those goals. So you're going to come up here and you may see I might need to work on collaborating with teachers from other grades or subject areas to establish links between disciplines and influence school-wide curriculum and teaching practice. Maybe I want that to be in my goal here. So, and Kim's going to talk more about some samples later of goals that you can use on. So we're just going to do a quick activity that you do this, and then as we go through, we'll see how maybe we can improve how we work on this. So I'm just going to make that my goal. All right, and then what activities am I going to do to meet this goal? So I'll put my activities in here. And notice these little asterisks, because in the online tool, anything that's a required fillable box, you're going to see an asterisk for. So you won't be able to complete your goals in the online tool until you have all the required areas filled in. So enter your activities here, and you guys can come up with what those would be. And then enter your outcomes. I can't type today. Enter any resources that you're going to need, and then you're going to be talking about these and working on these throughout the year. And then how long is it going to take you? Maybe it's going to take me a semester, or you may have some actual dates to put in. Okay. So is everybody good on that? Were you able to get to the activity and at least do part of it, I hope? And we'll move on from there so we can get the rest of our slides in today. All right, looks like you guys are. Thank you. All right, so I'm going to go back to the slides, and let's talk more about the PDP and setting those teacher goals. So in your professional development plan, if you're a returning teacher, what is going to inform those goals? Maybe your previous year summary evaluation and this self-assessment. We just worked on this activity. Did you identify any full standards or elements from a standard that you might want to work on? And you can set that as a goal. If you're a new teacher, you probably worked with the teacher candidate evaluation rubric at your IHE and have some kind of information about that, that you can formulate goals for your year. You'll work with your mentor that's assigned to you to help you form those goals. And you too will have completed a self-assessment and identified any standards or elements to work on. Kim, did you have anything to add for that?
No.
Okay. All right, so now let's go into our professional development plan. Once you've got a green check on your self-assessment, the next activity opens up and you can access it. And that next activity is going to be your PDP details initial review. And when you click in there, you're going to be able to edit the form to fill it out first. I put this on here to let you know we're getting a ton of questions. I'm on an abbreviated plan, but when I look at my form, somebody needs to mute, please. When I'm on my form, I see that it says comprehensive plan. The abbreviated plan does have this issue. This is a demographic. The system thinks you are on a comprehensive plan because of some demographic codes that are coming in behind the scenes. And we are working on this issue. If it's off, if you're on a standard plan and it says comprehensive, your principal needs to put in a ticket or get your designated staff to put in a ticket, and we'll work with them to get that fixed. So that's just a little issue that's been going on we're going to be working on. But your first step is to fill out this form. You'll see your name. Anything with an asterisk you have to fill in, like your subject area. Put in what your subject area is. It's going to tell you what your license cycle year is. And that should be correct unless you're kind of off cycle. A few of you out there may be off cycle due to leaves and things like that. It should list what school you're at. If it's showing you 2 locations, 2 different districts, you need to contact your former district and have them make you inactive. If you have a mentor, you're a beginning teacher, that will be there. And then just fill out that form and submit it. And then down below the form will be your goal area. So here's where you're going to click New. And see the directions say click New to add a goal. So then you're going to get your goal in here. And once your goal's in here, you're going to fill out each of these areas. And then when you come back in, you'll see the Edit button once you've added goals. So it's been suggested that you add 2 to 3 goals. Check with your principal about how you're setting those and maybe how many you should set. And then you can save those goals and move on to the next step. Just remember to make sure you have all your required fields, and these are all required filled in. Okay. All right, I'm going to turn this back over to Kim. She's going to have some suggestions for you for your PDP goals, or some samples.
Yes. Thanks, Cammie. As we were preparing for this year with the pandemic, we knew that our instructional landscape would be very different than what we had before, and so there was a bit of a panic, and I know that you have all felt it in the not knowing what that was going to look like. So I went through and just pulled out some different goals and tried to revamp them a bit to be friendly towards virtual or blended learning environment. So if you'll just look at the first one, and you don't have to put I will. I did. This was just a template that I was following. You could start with the verb if you wanted to. That's totally up to you. But I will acquire the knowledge needed to collect data, develop materials, and put into place individualized learning plans that are appropriate for students in a virtual and or blended learning environment. And that is it's a general goal, but it is specific enough to where it does motivate and inspire those activities or actions, which would include the professional development that you may be seeking out, especially with the virtual and blended learning, the PLCs, the parent meetings, and any additional collaboration that you may want to include there. And then expected outcomes and evidences of completion would be successful transition to a blended learning environment for students, parents, and staff. Other evidences would be your CEUs from the professional development that you completed, collected data or analysis, instructional materials, and student work. Resources needed could include technology, scheduled time, and IT collaboration. And if you look over to the far right, you see that I've just included various timelines or time frames for you to complete your goals for the different elements. And if you look down at the second one, we'll just go through it as well. I will monitor and differentiate instruction and modify instructional materials to meet the diverse needs of students participating in blended and or virtual learning. And again, you see the activities and actions, expected outcomes and evidence, resources, and timeline. I will promote collaboration among staff members to align our curriculum with blended face-to-face and virtual learning strategies by leading professional communities targeting long-range planning. Again, the activities, expected outcomes, resources, and timeline. And then I think we have another slide. And then here, if you're working on your master's degree, and hopefully we do have a lot of teachers that are working on their master's degree, I will enhance my abilities to improve student learning by earning my master's degree in curriculum development. And again, the activities and actions, evidences, resources, and timeline. And then the last one, I've kind of left open for you to plug in very specific information that you may want to include. I will assist and help mentor resident educators to help them become successful, whatever this may be, special ed, second grade, science, elementary. You can plug in whatever your area is. Educators by mentoring and sharing my knowledge, teaching strategies, and materials used working with. Again, you can choose whatever category applies to you. And I just put here in red, examples are provided in parentheses, but you can personalize the goal with your individual context. Orientation, meetings are just a couple of examples that I used. But I'm hoping that I made these big enough for you to be able to tweak and make them specific for you to be your PDP goals. So again, these are just almost like templates for you to use, but they do provide some of the verbiage and some of the language that you might want to use for instructional improvement.
All right, thank you, Kim, for going through those. You do have a copy of the slides if you're registered in NCEES. I did put that, I'll try to put that link back into the chat. It is a Google Doc, so you'll have to save a copy of it because it is preview mode, or download it. And then that will be your copy of the slides, or just email me later and I'll make sure you get a copy of the slides. but there is a link in NCEES. And if you guys have any, if you want to chat it out, what kind of goals are you setting? I don't mind if you share that in the chat, and we'll read out a couple of those as we go through. So if you've come up with a great goal you think might be shareable, please do put that in the chat. All right, so we're going to move on to the NCEES Google site. Oh, I see somebody is doing documentation and parent involvement. They're increasing rigor through technology. Thank you.
Excellent. Yeah, great.
All right. Thank you guys for sharing. All right, it's 1:45. I think we go to 12:20, so I think we're making good time. Let's talk again about our NCEES Google site. It's time for you to explore. Let me put this link into the chat. We want you to go out to our NCEES Google site and find coaching resources. This is your task. See if you can find a coaching resource. And if you find it, post the title of it in the chat, and we'll see if you can find those, and then we'll walk you through if you're having trouble finding it. And I'll continue to read out some goals. Go ahead, Kim.
Okay, yeah, hi, Cammie, just so that you understand how that the NCEES Google site is organized, you see on the left-hand side, there's a navigation bar which provides you with the different pages there. So this is not quite a scavenger hunt, but a one hunt, I guess. So we're wanting you to find coaching resources, and they're located in here somewhere. So we're hoping that you stumble across those.
And we're going to show you how to find them. But we want you to go look first and see if you can find them, and then we'll show you a good way to find them.
Yep.
All right, so while you're doing that, I'm going to give you a minute to do that. I'm going to read out a couple more goals. One of my goals is to continue professional development and enhance my knowledge of online learning. That's a very important one for this time and age, isn't it? Another one has a goal for national board certification. And here's a new teacher. She says she feels lost when doing these goals, but she put her goal is to learn and better understand the PDP and goals. And somebody else has, they found the coaching teacher-led conference framework. So let's go out there and see how you found that. And Kim, do you want to walk them through how to find that?
Sure. So if you look over to the left side at the different pages, and if you scroll down to additional support and resources, and then scroll down, you have some coaching resources there for you to use.
Good. Yep, and somebody else posted this one, the reasons for avoiding hard conversations with teachers. All right, and then you like, yep, good job. Good job finding those. Okay, I probably cheat. I come up here and I do the little bar up here. Because it will then take you there. Sometimes it's hard to see that there is a search capability up here too. But always on these pages, do remember to scroll down. Kim has built this site out and given you lots of resources. All right. All right, I see another goal out there, utilizing technology and instruction through developing and using a Bitmoji classroom. How about that? All right, good job. All right, we're going to go back out there later, so keep this keep that site up, and we'll go out there later. All right, anybody have any questions about PDP? Because we're getting ready to move into evaluations. I think we're good. So evaluations, your online evaluation, most of the certified staff, in fact, I would say 98% of certified staff are in NCEES, and they're going to get evaluated in NCEES. It is required if your rubric is in here to do this online tool. Charters, you do have an option whether to use NCEES or not, but you do have access to it. All PSUs do. You do have access to use the observations and evaluations in NCEES. So I just wanted to show you real quick help guides. A lot of people don't know that I have developed help guides for you per plan type. So where you see comprehensive plan, if you're on that comprehensive plan, There's a guide for the teacher, there's a guide for the evaluator, there's a guide for your required peer observation, and then standard plan, there's your guides, abbreviated plans, late hire plan, there's the guides for those, and your professional development plan. This one, the teacher one is updated. I'm working on the evaluator guide to update it. So those are out there for you to use, so please do. And then over on the right, there's your teacher evaluation cycle comparisons. So this is going to tell you the difference in the evaluation categories and types. So if you're have less than 3 years of employment, you're most likely on that comprehensive cycle. And if you have more than 3 years of employment, you can be on any cycle, comprehensive, standard, abbreviated. These little X's tell you what's required in each cycle. So the comprehensive will be that teacher self-assessment, which everybody does. Everybody does the PDP plan. Pre-observation is required only for standard and comprehensive. The formal observation with the post-conference is required here. For the formal observation with post-conference, for the standard plan, 2 additional observations are required beyond the 1 formal observation. So that can be formal or informal if you're on the standard plan. And then you guys can read through the rest of those. And remember, on abbreviated, you're only on standards 1 and 4. All right. There's little notes down there I think are important to read out. If you're in a license renewal year, it's recommended that you be evaluated on all 5 standards, no matter how many years of teaching you have in. And then not reflected in the table are those training and orientation that's provided to the teachers at the beginning of the year. I do have that link, so apparently you can go get a copy of it. All right, so back in the Google site, you can see these pages. So if you want to go look while I'm out there, if you click on teacher or support, you're going to see these guides. I want to talk to you about what's in NCEES though, what teacher plan types are in NCEES, and that's on the far right. When your evaluator sets your plan type, they're going to be choosing one of these. So teachers can be on comprehensive, standard, abbreviated, or late hire. Currently, only the teachers can do abbreviated. We do have some discussions going on about maybe doing some abbreviated plans for these other groups, but that will be further on down the road. Right now, teachers are here. Principals, they have their plan type. School counselors, you can be on any of those 3, comprehensive, standard, or late hire. So let's look through that list. So all of these plan types are in NCEES. And support staff, there's a little blurb about you. Why is your plan type in NCEES? Professional educators that serve in those roles of counselor, psychologist, social worker, media coordinator, ITS, teacher leadership specialist, etc. They require a professional license issued by NCDPI, and license renewal is key to performance. And the State Board of Education has approved your rubric, and those rubrics are in the online tool and should be used to evaluate you. So what evaluation types are not in NCEES? If you're over in the Google site, you will see these little asterisks beside some of these rubrics, manuals, and those ones are not in NCEES. So occupational therapist, physical therapist, school nurse, speech language pathologist. I've highlighted that one in yellow because you guys have the same code as one of our other people that are evaluated in NCEES. I don't remember which one, but you may find yourself in NCEES. So yay for you. You can take PD in NCEES because you're in there, but you will not get evaluated in the online tool. And then also, you know, you have the processes for your central office staff and superintendents. They're outside of NCEES. They are in those fillable forms found on the NCEES Google site. So where do we find our evaluations in the online tool? Once you've logged in, you have a tab called My Evaluation. Now, your evaluator or a designated staff would have set your plan type and it won't show up here on this page until they've set it and it has processed overnight. So you'll see your PDP that's been set, and then whatever plan type you have set, you'll see that as well. And these will say start new, and most of you have already done this because you've been through that first 10 days of school. And you would have started these plans, and the next time you go in, you're just going to click on the titles to enter your plan. If your plan ever disappears, I always like to point this out while I'm here, look under archive, look under deactivated, and then let your principal know if your plan ever disappears. Sometimes we have glitches with your codes that put you in here that could deactivate your plan. We can reset it, but we just need to know you need to report it to somebody. I also linked for you some handy start your plan guides on this page. So do notice those as well. So our main goal today, though, is to talk about your observation. And that's right here, the formal observation. So I'd really like to go out to NCEES real quick. All right, and here I'm impersonating a teacher, a test teacher. Oh, we've got, if you ever see these, PowerSchool is doing some kind of maintenance or updates. So I'm just going to close that out. So this is new. Looks like we're going to have an update this weekend. I'll just close that out. And then I've lost my teacher. Let me try this again. Let's see. All right, don't take just a minute to get this teacher back. There we go. Okay, so we're going to go to My Evaluation. And opened up the comprehensive plan. We use these over the summer to test your plans out. So I've opened up this activity so you can see it. So we're now going to the observation activity. If you've not joined the other sessions, if you see the eyes over here, it means you can't get to that activity until something else has been completed. So you just hover over that to see what needs to be completed. But we want to look at this formal observation activity. As an asterisk, it's required. And we would have seen start new, so we would have started the activity. It's going to record your name. It's going to record the date of the principal's name. The evaluator does this activity. You're going to come out here later and look at it after he's done his tally marks, or he or she have done their tally marks. So this is where you come out here to see, and then once it's been shared with you, please come out here and review your observation because you're going to have that post-conference. And if you can provide artifacts, maybe you think you did meet another area that's not been tallied, you're going to need to have some good conversations with that evaluator, and maybe you have some artifacts you can provide. So this is where you go look at your form. You can print it out. You can click this View All Feedback, and it will give you a printable copy of this. And here's your print icon, or download a PDF icon up here. Okay. So that's how you go look at the observation that's been shared with you once the evaluator has done that. And then you're going to need to then come out here and acknowledge this. And I guess I need to close it so that you can acknowledge it. And I don't think I can do that being in there. All right. So once the evaluator has acknowledged that, I'm going to go back to the slides in interest of time. Once it's been acknowledged, you can then acknowledge it yourself, the teacher acknowledgement. And then you can also do a written response in here as well if you want to supply artifacts that way. So do click on that. There's an attachment field in there for artifacts. That is your area to respond and help support your feedback talk with your evaluator as they talk about your growth process and what you need to do. All right, it's time to explore again. So I've posted a document here. Kim, did you want to talk about that document? And then we're going to go explore in the NCEES Google site one more time.
Yeah. The document that you see here, this is questions for post-observation conferences and summative evaluations. So I built this resource for principals to use during those post-observation conferences and summative evaluations to use the language of the rubric to really get at the meaning of the standards and what the elements and the descriptors may be looking for. But what has happened and what's been great is this resource has also been used as a resource to teachers to better understand what the different standards and elements are looking for. So what I recommend to principals across the state is to provide this questions document to teachers. And if a teacher comes to a post-observation conference or they're summative, prepared to answer all these questions, then that's great. You've already won because they've been reflective in their practice, and of course that's always beneficial. But this is just a resource for teachers and principals to use to better understand the standards and the elements and to really have those crucial conversations to get to growth, to make sure and ensure that growth is occurring. That's what our evaluation, that's the purpose of our evaluation. It's all focused on teacher growth, and these questions certainly give you question stems to have those conversations to promote growth.
Thank you, Kim. That's very good guidance, and I believe you did put this together for them, so I think that's a good resource. And then let's do our little activity, and I do see some questions in the chat, so we'll try to answer that while you're looking. I want you to go out to our Google site and find some more observation resources besides this questions document. I did give you some hints if you're like me and you want to use the little magnifying search bar, but see what you can find and post those in the chat. And then I'm going to read out a couple of questions, and we'll go look at what you found also. So it says, if it's your renewal year, do you automatically fall into the standard plan? So renewal year does recommend that you have the 5 standards. So it's up to your district what they assign you. Some put you on a comprehensive plan. Some do put you back on that standard plan if you've been on the abbreviated plan. And let's see, what else? The questions we have out here. Are there help guides for support staff? So while you're out there doing this observation resource search, on the left-hand column, I'll click out here, you have a support staff link. Check it out. Click on that. And then remember that I said once you've clicked on something, make sure you scroll down and see what you can find. All right. And any other questions? Says, I'm an itinerant teacher. Should I be on a comprehensive or an abbreviated cycle? Kim, do you know that one? That's
an LEA decision.
Yeah. Yeah. And we are recording today's session. Somebody had a question, could they review this again or online in NCEES? We're going to post it later to the NCBold site. And if I can get a copy of this recording, I'll put it on our NCEES YouTube site as well.
And Tammy, I'll also, on the page that says presentations, I'll include this presentation there as well.
Okay, thank you. So it looks like some of you guys are finding some things. Somebody found possible questions to ask myself for the observation. And let's see, questions for the North Carolina School Executive Standards, principals and assistant principal executives. Good job finding those resources. All right, I have a question. Where would I find new in the self-assessment? The new button will pop out there in just a second if we have time to do that. All right, so observation resources. When I came out here, I just searched for conference questions. I did a search for evidences. And then I'm finding some additional links for that. So anything out here that you can find, here's your resources that are good to help you prepare. Here's those reflective questions that you guys are finding right here. Yep. So good job finding those resources. There's a code of ethics pamphlet. Good job. Charter schools, yes. Some charter schools are using NCEES, so check that out. All right. All right, it's getting toward a little after 12, so let's move forward and see how much we have left to do. And then here's, once you've done all that and you've had your observation conference, it's time for everybody to acknowledge. And so here's where the evaluator would have acknowledged. And I'll have to respond to you directly about the new, but if you've never done your self-assessment, there should be a new button out there, or start new. But I'll get back to you that asked that question. So here's the acknowledgement of the evaluator. They have acknowledged it, and then they're down at the bottom of the screen, their name shows up and what day that they acknowledged or signed. And then the teacher also has to acknowledge, and I use teacher broadly. That's any staff, teachers, counselors, library media. You all fall under the teacher, I won't say description, but I don't think that's quite the right word, but you all fall under the teacher category. So that's why you see the word teacher in here a lot. It still applies to you as a counselor or library media specialist. You will see your observation type and all that listed in here. You'll acknowledge, it will put your name. I want to talk about this little note right here. What are you acknowledging? Why are you signing this? This signature, this acknowledgement, does not represent that you accepted your evaluation conference discussion. What it does acknowledge is that the discussion happened, that the steps were followed. It indicates that you have reviewed that report with the evaluator, and you have the ability to reply in writing, and that's why you have those written responses out there. So maybe you don't agree with everything that you talked about. You can take ownership of that and get your artifacts together and reply in writing and revisit that with your evaluator. So that's what the written responses are for. You still need to sign the document that the process has been followed. So that's what that signature is for. Any questions about that? And here's where your written response is. Any questions? All right. So when you click written response, you actually have two containers can somebody mute, please? Two containers, one to just put in some comments and attachments, and the other area is called artifacts. So if you do have artifacts to attach, you can do that there. Here's a close-up view here of what it looks like when you click into one of those edit buttons. You'll enter your attachment if you have one. You'll enter your comments, and then you'll click Save and Exit. Once you exit, it will send an email to your evaluator that you've provided a written response, and then they come out and they get in the form and they change this no to a yes, that they are acknowledging that you submitted a written response. All right, and then just real quickly, we're not going to go over the summary evaluation. We'll have future webinars on that. But before your summary evaluation, where you actually get rated, they're going to take all your observation tallies, all your growth that you've done during the year, and then you won't get rated until the end of the year in your summary evaluation. And all of these observations have to be completed and locked before you can access the summary evaluation. So this is just to show you, if you're on a standard plan, you have to have all three observations completed and locked, and then your evaluator can get in to do that summary evaluation. Here's just what it looks like. The summary evaluation is open for the evaluator to complete, so that means that all the observation activities were completed. When you get in there to look at that summary observation, it's going to show you everybody that did an observation on you. Maybe you had an observer, your evaluator did observation 1, you had a peer observation maybe, maybe you had a different observer do observation 2. It will record all of those. Note to those of you guys on the abbreviated plan again, those peer observations are not showing up in this summary. Just remind your evaluator, if you had one of those done, to please keep that in mind. They'll have to actually go to the peer observation and look at it. We're working with the vendor to get it to show up on here. Right now it's not showing up because abbreviated is a different rubric than the 5 standard rubric. So we're trying to work it out to get it to show up. All right, and then real quickly, as we're winding up our session today, I don't see any other questions coming in yet. Somebody found the North Carolina Professional Educator Standards Quick Compare Chart. Good job. Great. All right, so searches to try. When you come out to the Professional Development tab, I went through our list of people that signed up and registered today to see what kind of job titles have joined us today. So a lot of these were our big joiners or registrants. So you can do these searches in this search bar up here to find PD to help you meet your goals. So maybe your science, you can put that in there. Maybe your facilitator, put that in there. Find courses that will help meet your job role. And then if you want to find things aligned to the goals that you set or the standards that are trying to meet a standard that you set a goal for, look in this next section, drill it on out, click the available button. So if you're working on standard 3, you can click the available button for standard 3, and it will give you a list of courses that you can take that will help you meet that goal. Just a quick note, if you do find an instructor-led course, be sure to check the dates that has not run out. We try to tell our course creators to archive those courses once they're done with the instructor-led course, if it's date-driven, but sometimes they're a little slow about that. Everybody's busy, so do check dates before you sign up for the instructor-led course. All right, so any questions before we go into resources? You guys have been great today. So again, do go out here to our NCEES support site, information and resources, and just if you have any questions about where to find things, email Kim, email me. We're going to help you find anything if you are looking for something. I think Kim will know probably right where it is, but do email us both if you have any questions about that. On the DPI site, here's some resources for you. You have a Teacher's Corner page. So here it is. Look, you have beginning teacher support, a place for educator standards, a place for evaluation, learning, and leadership. Just scroll down there and see what all is out there. And NCDPI also has a page for beginning teacher support. Here there's mentoring, beginning teacher support programs. Maybe your district needs to know who your regional educator facilitator is. There's a list of those. They'll be glad to assist your school and your district. And then, of course, the State Board of Education Policy Manual is found here. When you go out here, it doesn't automatically land on the link that you want. You're looking for eval, so these are alphabetical, eval qualifications and evaluations. So here is all your policies, your appraisal, performance appraisal process, and here your evaluation standards is under eval 006 for teachers right there. All right. Let's see if we have any questions. I'm going to be unveiling this. Get ready with your app. And we'll see if we have any other questions. I'm going to put the code up. We have had some codes telling people they're not registered when they are. So if you get that, just do this link here. Let me put this in the chat to record your attendance, although we do also have you recorded in our attendee list today. Let me put that in the chat. All right, I have a question. I can't find my self-assessment in PDP when I click in my evaluation. Can you please help me? Yeah, I'm going to give you my email address. I'll put it in here. And if you'll email me, yes, I'll probably have a bunch of emails today because I'm on webinars today, but I will get to you at the latest by Friday, but sooner if I can. And we will get that question answered for you. Anybody can email me any questions. All right, and Kim, did you have anything else to add for today?
No, Cammie, I don't have anything right now.
Okay. Yeah, if the code is not working for you, do that bit.ly NCBold September attendance link. And then if you still don't have a certificate within a week in NCEES, do email me and I'll get with the NCBold group. Let me put this link in here one more time. All right, there's the link if you can't get the app to work. And if you have any more questions, I will be stopping recording in just a minute. I do want to thank you guys. We had almost like 140 people here today. That's great. Thank you for attending. I hope it was informative for you. Thank you, Kim, for all your input. I appreciate you joining me today.
It was a pleasure to be here.